What's going on? Welcome to Totally Blitz Podcast. We in the Fight Club about to talk a fucking war of a fight between Emanuel Navarrete defending his belt against Oscar Valdez and a pick'em 50-50 Mexican brawl. And as always, go down, like and subscribe, comment your picks on that. And as always, these are your hosts. I'm Paul, Pick'em Win'em Concha, and I'm joined with
It's your boy Southpaw Runs Boxing, aka Jamari, aka Gator Boy. Who else I'm joined with?
Hey man, you already know it's your favorite guest, Kev Waterboy Savoy. I'm big on street fighting, but you know my dog Nate fought this weekend, so I had to come jump on real quick, talk some shit with the boys one time.
before we get into the actual war on our hands, we gotta talk how that boy Jake Paul once again beats another retired MMA fighter in the squared circle.
Retired.
Say again?
Retired.
I think he's retired. Well, at least retired from UFC.
I was saying he's just out of his UFC contract. We'll see what that boy got. That boy looked like he still got some cardio in him now.
Yeah, I mean that bitch
He's
was
supposed to return one day.
that shit was entertaining. Don't get me wrong, that bitch was fun. I watched that bitch through and through. Did anyone else actually like tune in with me?
No.
Wait, the Jake Paul fight, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you watched the Gator?
Yeah,
You wanna-
it was a really. It was
That bitch was fun. That bitch was good.
you
You didn't watch it, Kev?
I was at the UFC card in Nashville, so motherfucking we met some girls. Comedian Romeo Mack, shout out Romeo Mack. Comedian Romeo Mack was dead set on this one girl. I'm not going to speak too much about it, but he was dead set on this one girl. So he pulled this girl, and then I was talking to her friend, and when I looked down, her friend was watching the fight, so I was watching it with that, and that's kind of like how I flirted my way into the friend. Like I was just like, dang, I was like, who you going for? She said Jake Paul. I got 50 on Jake. I was like, Nate Diaz for the fuck him up. So we watched like the fourth to like the eighth. I know I watched the fourth to eighth round for sure. But like the first three kind of foggy, and the last two, I was kind of like, that's where we started getting drinks and shit.
Well,
I tuned in for that fight.
yeah, but just know it was entertaining. The first round, I thought it was about to be a quick TKO. Jake Paul came out with some fucking haymakers, landed a lot, and Nate Diaz was getting.
It's been like I'm like, well, this is gonna end soon. Then it was like the second or third he got dropped.
No, I think it was the fifth round he got dropped. But haymakers were landing all early round.
He was getting tagged.
And I was sitting there because my bet was Jake Paul to win by decision plus 300. Jake Paul, this fight to go past 8 rounds, and Jake Paul win plus 200. Like I had all this money on Jake Paul decision mostly. In the first round, I was shook. I was like, oh, fuck. We brought that. Like my shit is toast. But I mean, Nate Diaz showed life, I think. After he got dropped, and there was moments before he got dropped where he was hitting his own shots, but he just didn't put like no power behind. There was like no real body being thrown with it. Just a lot of flims, a lot of flims as you would call them. Where he was just landing.
Yeah, he was piecing him up on the inside though. Like his inside work, his uppercuts on the inside was really tagging Jake Paul. Even buzzed Jake Paul for a little bit.
Yeah, I felt like
there was definitely some moments where Jake Paul was like, "Ooh." Like there was moments where I won't say he got wobbled or anything, but he had to start backing up because Nate was.
He definitely woke up.
And the biggest question mark thing was gas tank for Jake Paul, and once again, I'm kind of left with that same question because like after round 7 or so, I feel like his foot got off the gas pedal. He kind of didn't have the same pop in his shots, which allowed Nate Diaz to be able to walk in a little bit more. And then I think that's why the fight was so exciting to me because then I saw Nate Diaz kind of not controlling, but started winning a couple rounds at the end.
Oh yeah, he was winning. He was showboating. Yeah, and that was also Jake Paul's first time going 10 rounds too.
Yeah, I mean, my dog got the guillotine choke. Like my boy will definitely locked that. And then the fact that at the press conference he was talking about I mean, he didn't look nothing too great. I mean, he's good boxing, but in that bitch, he looked easy to choke, easy to take down. I'm like, of course he fucking did. They did a trained motherfucking takedown defense in a boxing camp.
And the rumors of them running it back. It sounds like it's kind of has a little bit more weight now. But Nate Diaz, I could have heard him wrong, but it sounded like Nate Diaz said that he will only he would do it if he could co-promote it type shit.
Yeah, that'd be smart. on his end because seen how much. Because we should somebody look up how many pay-per-views they fucking did, because I bet you they sold, because I seen a lot of bars had that bitch on in Nashville.
I don't think.
They already has like over like 8 million views already, like highlights already, like that fast.
They sold out where they were at too,
in Texas.
And Nate Diaz, he's been selling out since way back then. He's definitely the bigger draw than Jake Paul when it comes to selling out.
Remember, I don't know, because Jake Paul does have a couple big ones.
Nah, Jake was getting booed because there's definitely
that was definitely a pro Diaz, and plus Diaz was also like even in the early 2000s, selling out. He's been in the fight game for so long.
Damn, and Dana White had the nerve to say he's not a needle mover, bitch.
I think, all I'm going to say is, because I was kind of left with this thought afterwards, was Jake Paul to me is proving the point where like the MMA fighters that think they can box shouldn't be fighting boxers if they're fighting a YouTuber, as people are calling him, that is learning to box, and he's piecing them up and landing big hard shots, dropping them like dropping Anderson Silva. And like I love when people post the Dana White clip of like the year before he fought Anderson Silva. You see Dana White saying like he'll never fight Anderson Silva. Mark my words, he'll never do it. And then he ends up beating him. So then him. So then all of a sudden he's like one of the best strikers ever. And then he ends up just beating Nate Diaz pretty badly. And it's just and Tyron Woodley twice, even like highlight KO type KO finish on Woodley. And it's like, now you got Ngannou, who's going to go fight Tyson Fury, who's been doing this shit since he was a kid. And, like, I just don't know how that's going to look. Like, it kind of left me with that thought. It was like, a YouTuber's beating up these guys, and now you're about to go fight the best heavyweight, arguably, of the generation, right?
Oh, no, that's going to be interesting. Yeah. Because think about how bad the Canelo versus Kamaru take is now. Like.
Oh, yeah.
That's aging terribly, bro. Like, yeah, that aged terribly. Like, the first thing I ever heard Kamaru say in an interview was, "I would love to fight Canelo. I'm number one pound for pound. He's number one pound for pound." Terrible. But
UFC Hall of Famers getting knocked out by YouTubers, and it's that's why you can't you can't be like even McGregor versus Floyd. Floyd was retired when he pieced up McGregor and stopped him. And McGregor, that was prime McGregor. That was like the last fight, before McGregor went on his downfall.
The downfall, yeah.
They can't, you know what I'm saying? So the UFC guys, they gotta stay, they gotta stay in their own lane, you know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? They make a lot more money in boxing. So that's also why, you know what I'm saying? They won those fights.
The fight that intrigues me is the Andrew Tate versus Jake Paul.
Yeah, that should be crazy. But Elon versus Zuck.
That's going down in the Coliseum they're talking about in Rome.
They had a meeting with the Italian something of culture or some shit. That shit going down.
The Coliseum's shut off to the public. Like you can't go in there. You can see from the outside. That's why you don't ever see pictures from the inside. Like no one can really go in that bitch. And so like the fact that they might host a fight in there, legendary.
Bro, imagine how many.
They have the money to.
Imagine, because they're gonna refurbish that motherfucker. They're gonna get the seats in that bitch. They're gonna get the
jumbotron in that bitch.
But that shit.
Oh yeah, they got the money to too.
Insane. They saying because Dana White's trying to make $1 billion off of this fight.
Very possible. All money going to proceeds. I mean, charity.
That should, the Dana White Foundation. The motherfucker. But the coolest thing about this shit, because I be checking the dirt sheets. You feel me? Like you guys do the analytics. You guys watch. I figured out what messy shit happened in the background. So Logan Paul was wrestling at SummerSlam. My boy took the PJ straight to SummerSlam to go see the fight. And what had happened was when he got there, they told his ass, they said, if you bring out a single prime bottle, we kicking you out this motherfucker.
Wow.
And this
KSI.
So then motherfucking so Logan addressed it on this podcast they was on, maybe his own, but motherfucking, and they was looking at like, yeah, but they said last time you came out in a whole prime fit with a prime bottle, and motherfuckers like, and that pissed people off. Because not only did he piss off, because he had a prime fit, he had some prime stuff on, and then he had something else. So he pissed off two of their sponsors, some betting company and whatever drink company is their sponsors. And like these niggas are paying millions of dollars. If they don't want to see that shit, they gonna say don't see that shit. But how do you guys feel about that? Because like Logan was in that bitch trying to be like, man, bro, what the fuck? It's just a shirt. Like I'm a fucking young entrepreneur getting a company going. And Jake was like, nah, bro, it is what it is, man. Bro, you fucking know exactly why. Don't try to play both sides, bitch ass nigga.
Is that why?
Yeah, I think
Is that
it's
why
really
when I
about
saw
the KSI too. Like Jake, like you know what I'm saying. Like Jake, like it's really like Jake's also he's really been feeling the type of way since Logan and KSI has been a lot more closer. And Jake's just kind of, and you know, Jake and KSI, they have their ongoing beef for the longest. Always going, you know, that it was actually I think yesterday they were going back and forth on Twitter again also.
what
because
it
you're
kind of
talking
makes
that
a little
shit
bit more
earlier.
sense to me now because I saw a TikTok where when Jake was won and everything, the camera like zooms over to Logan Paul's face, and his face is he's just like no cheer, no emotion, no he like everyone around him's clapping, yeah, and he's just like brick faced, and it was like why like and then they were playing clips of whenever like Jake Paul said he would become champion of the world one day, and then Logan told him no, you're not. And it was just like, is there a little bit more to this thing going on than what everyone that sees them as like
Definitely.
two peas in a pod?
For sure.
It's like they're in competition with each other constantly too.
Yeah, but here's the thing that's funny about this shit, motherfucking. I don't know how open this is. Jake said it in a face to face with Aaron Hawani, but Logan tried to low key snake his way into this motherfucker and try to take the Nate fight before he set up the fight with Dylan Dennis. Like, yeah, that boy Logan about some bad business now. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh yeah.
Some shiesty business
definitely.
now.
Yeah, they try to keep that low. Nate's looking like, why the fuck would I want to fight him? Like, he's not beating all the UFC guys. He's not fighting this. He's not doing that.
Logan's not fighting at all.
Dylan Dennis though coming up. Dylan Dennis in his fight. Dylan Dennis never fights, so we'll see.
There's like $100,000 clause that Dylan Dennis has to he has to pay 100 bands if he pulls out the fight.
Okay.
But that nigga can still there has to be some type of loophole. Because imagine if you got into like a car accident the day before. Like the nigga's not gonna make you.
Oh, he'll find something.
They're gonna show up in that motherfucking hospital bed. But like
he did turn down over $1 million to fight Jake Paul a couple of years ago because he was too scared.
Oh yeah, he knew it was
Yeah, but that was like Jake Paul like years ago. Like now he's supposed to fight him instead of Ben Askren. That was when that fight Dennis was supposed to fight. Then Dennis chickened out. So I'm like, if you're not gonna, that was like Jake Paul at one of his worst. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't gonna fight Jake then. I don't think he's gonna.
And he ran from KSI last year.
Oh yeah, I had no faith. Did we talk about that last year?
No, probably not.
No, but I had no faith in that fight happening.
But yeah, that's crazy though. But yeah, shout out my dog Nate. He looks good. I hope he's motherfucking stays making shit happen. He's a needle mover. We need Connor versus him 3 once Connor gets off the coke. So we'll figure that shit out.
Right, so to everyone that says Jake Paul's not a boxer, and it's because he handpicks his opponents, he ducks the real smoke around him, and he oversells the dream that he's going to become world champion, even though we all know he ain't. To me, that sounds like a real boxer. Everyone knows real boxers don't be smoke fighting the best of the best. Everyone knows real boxers be ducking all the other shit, and then they always be overselling this shit. Like he's doing shit just straight out of the boxer's handbook of shit that boxers be doing on the rise.
He's prize fighting. It's prize fighting. Everyone, every boxer prize fights at some point. You know what I'm saying? Take the money fights over legacy fights.
Yeah.
And he is the money fight. You gotta respect it. But I look at this shit like he's inspiring. He's inspiring some young niggas right now. There's a group of young motherfuckers, probably white, that is in this bitch thinking like, yo, I could be world champion like Jake. And they root for Jake Paul every chance they get. They probably don't even stream the fights. They pay for they get their parents to pay for the
pay-per-view.
pay for the pay. So like I'm not mad at anything that goes on at this point. It'd be different if he was like really like rigging the fights and stuff like that. But he looks like he's beating these dudes straight up, and they're entertaining.
Oh yeah,
he had motherfuckers pulling up to Abu Dhabi to watch him fight for a fucking what was it? WBC made him a belt that they were praying that this motherfucker won. So like he's doing a lot of his dreams just by having good business. So like I respect it no matter what. And he actually trains because bro do become these fights.
He trains like a motherfucker. That's the one thing that made me
respect it too.
He's real boxing.
Yeah, I mean, he's a person that's doing boxing. Like that's the best way to explain it. Like, because you can't play.
He's also signing boxers too. Everything he's done for women's boxing too.
Yeah, he does have Amanda Serrano all the way up here type shit.
And plus, I mean, those people that are like 5-25 records, they can call themselves boxers. I think Jake Paul
is true.
Boxer.
That is, that is true.
And I'm pretty sure he could spark a lot of them 5-25. 4-90 guys that some of
for sure.
fighters were fighting back in the day.
Yeah, because KSI, he fought someone who was like 9-0 in boxing. Who, obviously he wasn't good, but what I'm saying, that technically was a real boxer. And people were saying like, oh, KSI beat more real boxers.
Talking about when he KO'd him with his elbow.
Yeah, that guy. But people even saying like even that, but apparently that qualifies as a real boxer. So people are even saying.
But all right, guys. Enough of the YouTube boxing. We'll be covering more of that when Logan Paul and them boys box hopefully sometime this week. Or not week, later this year. Let's get into the pay-per-view boxing here. We got a real belt on the line. WBO junior lightweight, super featherweight, whatever you want to call it. Belt is on the line. Emanuel Navarrete versus Oscar Valdez. Navarrete, even though he's champion, is the slight underdog, plus 135 to Valdez's minus 174. This is as close as it gets in boxing. What a lot of people are saying potentially could be fight of the year. It has on paper, it could be. You got two Mexican stand-up brawlers that got power. Navarrete has shown that he's prone to get hit, and Valdez is prone to get hit as well. And a lot of people are saying this could be a bloody-ass war. How are we feeling about this fight going into it right now?
Bruh,
I'm excited.
Nobody is stepping back once in this fight. There'll be some circling, but there will never be some I need space. There will be continuous bloodshed. This entire fight. And I'm here for all the violence.
I think Valdez will be the first to step back because Navarrete, his punch outfit, his punch output is gonna frustrate him. He's got, what I'm saying, he double jabs the whole time. He's constantly putting the pressure on them, walking people down. And he's really awkward. He's a really awkward fighter. His punch placement is weird.
So if this fight was to happen a little bit ago, I'd probably be leaning a lot heavier on Navarrete because like after the Joet Gonzalez fight, we were like he was looking like insane. But I mean, his last two performances they don't have anyone a little worried because he got dropped his last fight against Liam Wilson and then ends up getting wobbled in the 6th round. Somehow or another makes a comeback victory, wins the fight. And then even the fight before that, he's fighting Baez, and he's down on 2 scorecards going into the 5th round, and he ends up getting a 5th round KO and fight over. But I mean, he wasn't winning. He was getting pieced up. He looked like a little frustrated. His punches weren't landing. It's just like 2 back-to-back poor performances, in my opinion, and going into this fight against Valdez.
That's more fuel to the fire.
More fuel?
Yeah, and also in his past couple of fights, he's also even in his best performances, he does start off slow. Like in a Joet Gonzalez fight, in the first couple rounds, Joet was landing some flurries and big shots on him. So he does take a little bit to figure out his opponent, but middle of the fight, that's when he usually just takes over and dominates.
You said more fuel to the fire. From immediately when you said that, the first thing I thought of was the little drama that leading into this fight. I mean, the vacant belt fight wasn't supposed to be Liam Wilson versus Navarrete. It was supposed to be Oscar Valdez versus him. But Oscar Valdez, according to Gator Boy let me know. Apparently, the Twitter streets were saying Valdez faked an injury leading into the fight, so he wouldn't have to fight him. And then now, also about a year later, we finally get that fight.
Yeah, Well, Valdez, he got word that Shakur was gonna. This is obviously before Shakur missed weight against Conceição. So Valdez got word that Shakur was gonna vacate right after this fight. So he was like, okay, he's gonna just pull out of this fight with Liam Neeson and wait so he can get a shot at the vacant belt. So then he gets his shot, but then so he faked the injury the first time. Then he actually gets injured in training camp. So yeah, so he had to pull out. You know what I'm saying? Then Liam Wilson, who Valdez was originally supposed to fight, got that fight with Navarrete for the belt.
Oh wow, that's crazy! I didn't know none of that.
Yeah, there's a little added drama to the fight. So when you said little feel to the fire, it does make me think maybe Navarrete.
They've been supposed to fight for a while. Even Navarrete called him out like back to 2021, early 2021. I think it was around. I think it was actually around the Burchelt fight. Navarrete got his name in the mix there. So this is low key a long time coming. Some the fans have kind of like what I'm saying, been kind of asking for this fight for a while too.
Yeah, I mean, we got two boys that only have one loss. Valdez lost to Shakur, who is arguably going to be the number one pound for pound fighter when it's all said and done, when he's in his prime and everything. Not a bad loss.
Yeah.
I'm watching that Shakur fight right now, and like, oh my gosh, Shakur is just piecing dude up.
Yeah,
like,
Shakur,
if it wasn't for the Valdez fight, this fight would have a lot more hype to it. Like this fight was really like kind of pushed like a couple years ago, but since the Valdez loss and Navarrete hasn't, like you said, he hasn't looked the best in the last couple of fights. Like there was seriously a good amount of hype towards this fight a couple years ago.
With 3 division champion Navarrete, his last loss 2012. This man's gone a decade without a loss right now.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And his first 25 wins, only 3 of them weren't stoppage, to show you like how his fucking punching power. Valdez is no slouch in punching power, as a lot of people know. I think a 72% knockout rate out of his fights. And I just love the fact that when he throws in combination. Like his hand speed is fucking fast. Once he gets on the inside, he gets into you. His hand speed is nice. We just didn't get to see that in the Shakur fight because Shakur is the master of footwork and keep cutting off the ring and keeping you at wherever he wants you.
No, but we did see in the Burchelt fight how he was driving him off, how fast and efficient his left hook was landing. He eventually landed the KO of the year that year with the left hook.
Broke him down too. Broke him down for all 10 rounds leading up into that.
His speed and accuracy was crazy.
And then what's going for Navarrete is he's awkward. He is the bigger man I think he's longer than him and a little taller than him. But his goofiness.
He has great cardio though. Yeah.
His pace, yeah, like I said, he threw 900 punches in a fucking fight against Joey Gonzalez, averaging 82 punches per round. Like his pace and cardio is insane.
That's insane.
But yeah, I had the fight on.
It get dropped. And that's another worry to me. This is going to be a war. Like he's the one that's shown that he's been dropped multiple times. He's been dropped by Dogbo whenever they fought for the junior featherweight title back in 2018 or something. And then he got dropped in his last fight against Liam Wilson when he was a mega favorite in that fight. It wasn't supposed to be as close as it was. So his chin.
Valdez, Well, Valdez's chin is also suspect too. He got dropped with Shakur and against Scott Quibb, I think his name. He actually got his jaw broken by Scott Quibb too.
Oh shit!
But I mean, he did come back and stop Scott Quibb, but he got dropped that fight too, and against Shakur.
I knew the Shakur one, but I don't hold the Shakur, even though it's pillow hands. Don't get me wrong. He's just like that man can he can hit right on the tee. Like he hits that bitch right on the tee. A perfect punch is way better than a hard punch.
Yeah, he got his jaw broken though by Scott Quibb, who he's not really obviously he's not really known. He was kind of a little mid fighter. It was a 10-round fight too. It was earlier in Valdez's career, but he came back. So it's definitely gonna be a war.
Damn, y'all made me confused. I don't know who I want to pick anymore. I was coming into the podcast heavy Valdez, like heavy. And then I'm watching this. I watched the Made in Mexico, the little documentary Top Rank having. I was like, hey, this Navarrete dude kind of dangerous. And
I
now
think
I'm
Watch
watching.
watch his fight with against Joey Gonzalez.
all
Uh,
right. I think it's time we get into the picks. I mean, I think we did it. We did the best we could breaking down who these fighters were and like the gravity of this fight right now. It is honestly a good fight of the year candidate. Like on paper, leading into it, there's a lot of people's pick maybe for fight of the year right now. How do we see this fight going? Who do you guys your pick right here? I'm trying to find the over under, but I don't find. I think it's set at 8.5. Or yeah, I was gonna say. Oh, I was gonna say 7.5. Over under. Do you think it goes past 7.5 rounds or under 7.5 rounds? And who do you got in the fight? And by how? Is it decision? Is it KO? Is it a close fight? Is it a beatdown? Let me know.
I have over 7 rounds. I have Navarrete by decision. I think his pace and punch output's going to show in the later rounds. And Valdez he slows down in the later rounds. His last couple of fights, his last performance, he slowed down. He slowed down against Shakur. And Navarrete is the one who gets better as the fight goes on. His output only gets more as the fight goes on. So I'm going Navarrete by unanimous decision.
I'm gonna take Oscar Valdez here. Like I said, the last two showings from Navarrete is this little too less sour taste in my mouth, especially at this weight class now where Valdez has been there longer. And even though he is kind of the smaller guy, I think he'll be able to take the shots with Navarrete. And I just think he's a better fundamentally sound fighter. Whereas Navarrete loves to throw his loop a lot of left hooks. Sometimes he'll double up, triple up on his left hook because that's like his bread and butter money, like power shot. I mean, he doesn't do much in between to set it up. He's kind of just lunging with the left hook, kind of. And yeah, you can catch Oscar Valdez, but I think we see a smarter Oscar Valdez that kind of just he got completely shut out against Shakur Stevenson. And it wasn't, and his power punches didn't matter. His speed didn't matter. So I think in this camp, he's probably been working a lot on footwork, ring IQ, and like getting into the right proper spaces to set up his shots after getting schooled the way he did. At least I'm hoping. And Navarrete has shown that he can get hit, and he's just to me too much. He relies too much on the power and doesn't do enough of the in between stuff to not get hit and to set up his own shots. Whereas Valdez, I think, has the edge there. And if a sloppy Navarrete comes in, I'm taking Oscar Valdez by KO, late rounds. I'm gonna go over 7.5. I see this probably being a ninth to tenth round KO. So that's gonna be my final pick.
what Marcus say?
Marcus's pick. I'm gonna read it out to the audience here. He's got to go in over 7.5 rounds. He expects Oscar to bounce back. He thinks it's going to be a tough war going back and forth, but he thinks Oscar can catch Navarrete with some clean shots in between the punches. Navarrete shows that he's been hurt. He went down in his last fight against Villa. I'm going with Oscar, bounce back victor, TKO. Sometimes Navarrete can get sloppy and wild, got strong punches, but it's like Oscar's chin and power.
Yeah, man. So I came into this fight feeling big Valdez vibes. I watched this fight with Shakur, and I'm like, even though that's Shakur, I feel like he did steal a round or two in this fight. So like, he's not somebody that quits too early in the late rounds. And Duarte shown that he can get hurt. But I feel like if this fight doesn't end in a knockout, which doesn't make sense because we're talking about how it's going to be a war, I think Navarrete got it off of cardio. So I think I'm going to take that boy because I feel like it makes sense to go for the war and get Oscar Valdez, but I think this might just go decision. It might just sneak into a decision, and Navarrete got it in a decision.
I like it. I like it, and also, and Valdez, like whenever he's getting out boxing out work, he just doesn't really make adjustments. Eddie doesn't adjust him well.
No, that's true. But also I feel like the same said for Navarrete. Oh no, because he does have a couple of comeback victories where he has to change shit up.
Yeah, no, yeah, Navarrete. Yeah, he definitely mixes. He definitely mixes it up. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Sometimes he puts more pressure on the body, and he just goes straight like spin style and digs the body. Sometimes he, you know what I'm saying. So sometimes it's just that left hand just flying.
Well, we're split on the picks 2-2. So go down and comment y'all's picks. We need a tiebreaker down in the comments. Before we head out, I got a final question just because they're both Mexican fighters. They both got the Mexican backings of their own people behind them. They're going to be in Glendale, Arizona. Probably be packed. Whole bunch of Mexicans in that motherfucker. We saw Navarrete. He flown into Glendale, Arizona. He's with his people. We saw Oscar Valdez throw the first pitch at the baseball game the other day for Arizona. Who do y'all think is getting the bigger pop? Do you like this is both of their backyards basically. Both of them fought in Glendale before. They both Mexican fighters here. Like, do y'all expect the crowd to be favoring one fighter more than the other? Is it gonna be split 50-50? Are we gonna see some boos in that motherfucker?
I think it'll probably go probably more Valdez because he's fought in Arizona more.
I think it's gonna be.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be equal. I just think it's. I don't think it's gonna
definitely.
be like a booze or anything in that motherfucker. But I do think they're both gonna get some big pops.
I just think the cheers will be a little bit louder for Valdez.
Really, I don't know either of them from the can of paint, so I don't know who the fans are gonna go for. But like, I don't know, man. My boy Navarrete coming out with 2 belts, right? Or just one?
He a 3 division champ, but he only has one belt in this weight class.
Okay, so I don't know, man. That boy coming out as a champion, man. You know how it gets loud for us champions. So I gotta go. Oh, Paul, let me know if I gotta go get the belt. You can see how loud it gets.
It all depends. I think actually now that I'm thinking about it, how many cowboy hats do I see in the arena? If there's a fuckload of cowboy hats in that motherfucker, it might be Navarrete cheering.
I think that's what sold me on, bro. His nickname is like, what is it? This Mexican, the Spanish word for cowboy.
Yep. He wears the cowboy hat and everything. He rocks that bitch better than Zerto.
Damn.
Yeah, definitely.
But man, this is gonna be a banger of a fight. I can't wait for this one.
Yeah,
we gonna get a comedy show watching this bitch on the road.
50-50 fight going down Glendale, Arizona. Emanuel Navarrete defending his WBO belt against Oscar Valdez, a pick'em fight. We don't get them often. Well, I can't keep saying that. I feel like we've been saying that all year in boxing so far. So we are getting a lot of pick'em fights in boxing this year. The tide has turned. So stay tuned. We got a whole bunch of shit. We still got UFC national recaps. We could tune in if you haven't yet. We already UFC Vegas 78 Luque versus RDA picks are out as well. So if y'all haven't tapped in with our UFC side, go right now and stay tuned. Later this month, me and Kev are going to get the NFL episodes back to popping. We're going to have some preseason talks. We're going to have division breakdowns, bets of the year, our Super Bowl picks, all of that and in between.
And you better tap into the UFC fight, motherfuckers. The champ told you.
And if y'all didn't know, this has been another episode of Totally Blitz Podcast. I'm Paul Pick'em Win'em Concho, joined by Jamari, Gator Boy, Southpaw Run Boxing, and as always, our special guest. We love having him around. Y'all know him from the UFC, y'all know him from the NFL. That's Kev, Waterboy, Street Fight Enthusiast, Savoy. And as always, this has been Totally Blitz Podcast. Y'all didn't know, but now y'all know, motherfuckers.